I think that's it. Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joey. If this is your first time here, I'd explain who I am and what I do, but I have no niche. I'm just a person living my life and trying to help other people with the things that I have obsessively researched because I'm an obsessive researcher when it comes to things that I don't know. If you can hear all that noise in the background, you have my apologies. There's construction happening, but if I record inside, then you will hear screaming. So these are the options. I'm also sorry, while we're apologizing for things, that it's taken me so long to get this video up. I have excuses. I'm not even gonna tell them to you because it doesn't matter. Okay, so backstory. If you don't care to have the backstory and you just wanna know what I did, I will have the timestamps right here so you can just skip on through. No judgment, none at all. Totally get it. For a backstory, I currently have a 21-month-old, but when all of this started, he was around 19, 20 months, that it was brought to my attention that my son was likely struggling with a bit of a speech delay. Now, I had brought it up to his pediatrician at his 18-month appointment, and they asked me if I was concerned, and I said, a little bit, and they assured me that they were not concerned. So let's just put that on the table right there as it is. At 18 months, I would say that my son was saying 3 words consistently and correctly, but that was about it. And obviously hanging out with other kids his age, he was certainly behind. More backstory, he was in daycare for the first year of his life. I pulled him in November, so when he was 13 months old, and he's been home with me ever since. I work full-time in the house with him home, and so it's just him and I, so there is a lot of independent play happening because I'm busy working while he is doing toddler things. So all of those things kind of play a role, and when it got brought to my attention, someone in my life basically was like, I don't want to like overstep here, but there is a delay. This person has worked with children of all ages, but a lot of time spent with toddlers, and so I really valued that they brought that to my attention because they know better than I do. I don't spend really any time with toddlers because though I was a nanny for many years, I usually got the hell out of Dodge during the toddler years. I would either work with older children or much, much younger children. So when it got brought to my attention, I did reach out to a speech pathology center, a speech therapist here in the area, and it was gonna be about a month and a half before we could get on their schedule. And so I went ahead and booked the appointment, but in the meantime, I am a doer. I don't like just sitting in something. I like to take action and at least start working towards a goal. And so I the internet, and all of this information you can find for yourself on the internet as well. But in case you don't have any interest in doing hours and hours of research and watching countless hours of speech therapy sessions online, I will give you the gist of what I implemented in my house to avoid a speech delay diagnosis. Okay, the first thing that I started to do, which I'm sure you probably already do, but in case that you don't, is narrate everything you're doing. Narrate everything you're doing. Even things that you wouldn't think to put words to, put words to that. So narrate everything that you're doing. Whether you're actually on the ground playing with your kid, or you're washing dishes and your kid is just at your feet, if you're on a walk and they're in the stroller, point to things, talk about everything, narrate everything you're doing. I realize it sounds super simple. I wasn't doing it as much as I thought that I was. I was very aware of the concept of narrating what we were doing, but the actual act of doing it, I wasn't doing it as often as I thought I was. Honestly, we would just sit in a lot of like, not silence, but like there'd be music playing or whatever, but we weren't engaging in a lot of conversation. So that was definitely something that I needed to introduce into our day-to-day. The other thing, and this I would argue possibly was the most beneficial, was repetition. And you might be wondering, how on earth do you introduce repetition into your day-to-day? I picked one episode of Miss Rachel. It's one episode that's all music. There's no like skits in between or anything like that. It's linked down below. And if our TV was on for like a month solid, if our TV was on, it was on this episode. I would even play this episode through the speakers in the car where he couldn't see it, but he could hear it over and over and over again. One, the episode is full of bops, so my husband and I don't mind it so much, but really what happened is he started to understand even just like the sequence of words and understanding even the sequence of what songs were coming. And so partnered with these songs, a lot of them include gestures. And so he was picking up on the gestures long before he was picking up on the word. But what would happen is as one song was coming to a close, even before the next song started started playing, he would start to do gestures indicating that he knew what song was about to come on. And he did pick up quite a few words from listening to this one episode over and over and over again. I mean, we're talking, he probably added 5 to 7 words to his vocabulary within a few weeks just from watching this episode over and over again, or having the episode on over and over again where he could hear it. Kind of to go along with the repetition thing is I, as the primary caregiver, would pick 1 or 2 words at a time that I was really focused on for him. In this case, something that I picked up in my research, and I'll share like more specifics of who I looked to for this kind of information, was focusing on words like operative words, words that are actually going to help your child communicate their day-to-day needs. So while it might be neat to be able to have colors in their vocabulary, and certainly a very important thing to add to their vocabulary, I was focusing more on words like on, off, up, down, eat, all done or done, things that help my son communicate his day-to-day actions. And so what I would do is, as his primary caregiver, I would pick 1 or 2 words that I would focus on really hardcore until he got them. And then once he got them, I would pick another word or another 2 words to focus on and kind of go at it that way. And when I say that I would focus on it, is I would find ways to introduce it into every conversation we were having. One of the words that I focused on initially was go, and I would do like ready, set, go, and he eventually picked up, same thing with 1, 2, 3, go. I would say one of those 2 phrases all the time, all the time, all the time, to the point that when I would start and say ready, set, he would fill in go. And as far as understanding the concept of the word, wasn't really sure if that was happening. I mean, he understood it in the terms of like playing with a car or like launching a ball or something like that. Well, if there was any question, I found out that he did understand the concept of go. When we were in the car, I was stopped at a stoplight, and I'd been stopped for about 15-20 seconds, and usually he would just start to fuss a little bit when he was ready for us to like get the car moving. Back seat was dead silent, and all of a sudden I just hear go. And all I could think about was this scene, the very final scene in Devil Wears Prada, where Miranda Priestley's just like, go. I'm like, okay, maybe him having words is gonna come around and bite me in the ass, but at least I knew he understood the concept of it. Another thing that I introduced, and this I learned actually in my research from a speech pathologist who has been wonderful enough to post so much helpful content on her channel, including full sessions of a speech therapy session with a toddler. I was specifically looking at my son's age range, so I'm not sure if she has other age ranges in there, but at the time I was looking for like 20 to 22 months toddler speech therapy, and she came up. Her name is Kayla Chalko, and she is with Walkie, Talkie speech therapy, and she posts so much content online. I found it super helpful, and so watching these therapy sessions, I learned to introduce like focused playtime. And so as somebody who was working from home, but honestly most parents in some way, shape, or form are not just sat on the floor playing with their kids all day long. Like, we are busy doing other things, whether it's chores or anything. You're busy, you're a human being, you have things to do. And it was really just kind of lost on me to introduce like little pockets of focused playtime. And so while, you know, it probably averages out to be about an hour a day, and that's honestly like pretty generous, it really isn't even that much every single day. What I was doing is taking like a pocket of 5 minutes here, a pocket of 10 minutes there, and doing like focused play. And so sometimes that would just include the toys that were, you know, available to us on the ground. He has access to almost all of his toys at all times, but in her sessions, this speech therapist was using certain toys, and so I literally went out and actually bought them. I bought it's the Little People's school bus, and then it has like little people that come with it, and then I bought Elsa and Anna and Olaf because my kid is a big time Frozen fan. And then I also bought a Mr. Potato Head, and these 2 particular toys do not live with the rest of his toys. These stay hidden in a closet, and I only pull one of these 2 toys out certain times a day where I am gonna be sat on the floor with him, and I'm literally going to be playing with this toy with him. And this is actually one of the tools that I use to help him learn go, was 1, 2, 3, go. Go, bus, go. But with a toy like this, you have so many words that they can introduce. You have bus, you have in the bus, you have off the bus, you have on the bus, you have off the bus, you have open the door, close the door, look at the wheels. Wheels go round and round. You can play songs. You can push the button.
Hi, you can sit with me.
And the bus sings some songs. I mean, there's so many different versions of words that can be used with this type of toy. And honestly, as he was starting to learn some of these words, I would then just have to get creative to introduce different phrasing into certain things that he was learning more and more words. Something that is important to note, and this is something that I also learned from Kayla, is to keep things very simple. Use proper language, like don't use baby talk. You can speak in a full sentence to your child, but keep your language simple. And sometimes what is happening is we're using language that's just too complicated for them to mimic, and words that are too complicated for them to repeat. And so there will come a phase typically where they'll start to kind of parrot or repeat the sounds of a word back to you. It took a while for my son to get to that point. He's almost 23 months now. No, almost 22 months now. But the more that we were practicing with words, the more that he was getting brave repeating the type of sounds that I was making to him. So I was using different toys as a tool to learn different words. I mean, Mr. Potato Head, I mean, goodness gracious, there's so many things that you could do with him, but we were primarily focusing and still focusing on just like the different body parts, right? Like eyes, ears, nose, mouth. You know, you can make Mr. Potato Head jump. You can make Mr. Potato Head lay down. You can put Mr. Potato Head here. You can, where is Mr. Potato Head? Where's Mr. Potato Head? You know, there's so many different ways that you can introduce different words with different toys. So they don't have to be these particular toys. I just decided to use what I was seeing in the speech therapist's sessions because that just seemed to make the most sense to me. But obviously, as you go and peruse either the internet or Walmart or whatever, just think in your mind as you're looking at these different toys, the different words that you might be able to introduce into that focused playtime. And again, it doesn't have to be a very long session. In fact, I would recommend that it's not a very long session. We're working with toddlers here. Their attention span is very small. That's a lot of the reason that I keep these toys hidden away, is because he only gets to play with this when I bring it out for focused play. So I know it's going to capture his attention. I bring it somewhere that there aren't access to a whole lot of other toys, and I know that I'm going to have his captured attention for at least 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, sorry, my camera actually overheated, which is probably for the best because I was also overheating out there. If that's not North Carolina for you, I don't know what is. So apologies for the location change, but I just want to go ahead and get this video done. The other thing to consider is gestures. So the songs included in Miss Rachel's episode did include gestures, whether it was like the wheels on the bus or open shut them or the itsy bitsy spider, any of those types of things. And I think I mentioned this earlier. He was picking up on the gestures pretty quickly, which was really helpful as far as being able to start utilizing some of those gestures in his communication throughout the day. Now, some of them are not sign language, some of them are. And so we have been sure to introduce the gesture or the sign language along with the words that we're trying to teach him, just in case he picks up on one over the other. And I actually learned in our speech assessment that sign language actually counts. And I didn't know that. And that was really reassuring to me because along with the 3 words that my son had back at his 18-month appointment, he has a number of gestures where he's known all done for a while, he's known more for a while, he's known eat for a while. And we just continue to introduce those signs along with the words that we're using, like go and all of that. Honestly, if you don't know what the signs are, if you pay attention to Miss Rachel, she'll probably teach you, because that's where we learned a lot of what we've got going on with the words that we're using is whatever gesture she's using or the sign that she's using. You can also just look up baby sign language, and I'll try to link some of those resources below. I will also be sure to link all of the resources that I've mentioned below, especially the Walkie Talkie speech therapy, because Kayla, I don't know that you'll ever see this video, but in case you do, thank you so much, because I pretty much attribute the fact that my son was able to prevent a speech delay diagnosis, which, for anyone curious, when we did finally make it to our speech therapy assessment appointment, it was about an hour-long appointment, and it was concluded that my son does not actually have a delay. He's above average for receptive language, which is great, and he's just teetering on the border of average, below average for communicative or expressive language. And so the therapist was really happy with all of the things that we were doing at home, and she said if you just keep doing those things, I can pretty much assure you that he'll be right there on track, no problem. She also assumed that he was basically going to be right on the cusp of a language explosion, and that was about 3 weeks ago now, and I would say that's probably true. But anyway, Kayla, pretty much just attribute all of the success to you and your videos, so thank you for that so much. If you guys have any questions, again, I am not in any way, shape, or form qualified to offer you guys any true advice. I just wanted to share what we were doing here in our home to be able to help our son develop his speech and establish that foundation so we could start communicating. If you're curious where we're at now, he's almost 23 months. I keep saying that. He's almost 22 months, and I would say that since the time that I booked the appointment to the time that we made it to the appointment, which was about a month, he introduced about 17 new words into his vocabulary using these methods. Aside from the toys, I didn't buy anything. I'm not kidding you when I tell you it was the repetition for the most part that really truly made the biggest difference. And then also just the focused time. Just spending 5 focused minutes is so valuable. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer what I can or point you in the right direction. Yeah, and I will see you guys again very, very soon.